Hi, I'm Corey with NIS2. In my last video, I mentioned at the end a bit about a risk assessment. In this video, I'm going to go deeper into what that means. I'm going to break it up into three parts. The first is what the NIS2 law requires. The second one is the traditional risk matrix that has been used. And the third part, I'm going to break down into a risk assessment tool that we made that seems to be a little less black and white on assessing the risks of a single asset. In Article 21 of NIS2 directive, it asks you to manage your risk. It never asks you to be perfectly risk-free. And risk management, boiled down, is just three plain questions. What do you have? What could go wrong with it? And how bad would it be? Answer those three honestly for your business, and you've done the core of a risk assessment. Everything after that is writing it down in a way an auditor can read. The first question, what do you have? That means your assets. And don't overthink it. It basically means anything that helps you operate your business. But it could be also non-physical things. Even a supplier that you can't live without is a very important asset. Your servers, your laptops, your customer database, your email, your website. If you make something, the machines and the production line on the floor, that's operational technology. And it absolutely counts. Here's how to do it without it getting out of hand. Don't list every cable and mouse. Group things sensibly. Office laptops is one line, not 40. Run your business by what would hurt if it stopped. How do we take orders? How do we get paid? How do we deliver? What holds your customer data? Write each one down. That list is your asset registry. Before we score anything, two things Article 21 is non-negotiable because they shape everything that follows. Firstly, it says all hazards. That's the actual wording in the text. It is not just hackers. A power cut, a flood in the server room, a key supplier going bankrupt, an employee deleting the wrong folder. These are all risks, and they all belong in the same assessment as the cyber attacks. If you only think about the hackers, you'll miss the thing that actually takes you down, which is usually something boring like a backup that was never tested. Second, it says proportionate. The measures have to fit in your size, your exposure, and what they cost. A 50-person waste company does not need what Deutsche Bank needs, and the law says so in the same breath. Keep those two in your head. Every kind of hazard, size to you. That is the job. So how do most people answer the last two questions? What could go wrong and how bad would it be? For decades, the answer was a classic risk matrix. And that works to a certain point. And here's how it goes. For each asset on your list, you give it two scores. First, likelihood. How likely is it that something goes wrong? Second, impact. How bad would it be for the business if it did? That's the classic engine. Likelihood times impact. And you don't need a fancy scale. Low, medium, high is enough to start. And when you ask what could go wrong, think of it in four plain ways. Could it be leaked? Could it be tampered with? Could it be knocked offline? And could someone pretend it to be leaked, changed, down, or faked? This is the risk matrix. Likelihood along the bottom, impact up the side. Every asset becomes a dot. Bottom left, which would be likelihood low impact, which therefore is low priority. On the top right, you have likely and very damaged. That's your production line or your customer database. That top right corner is where you start. That is what risk management means in one picture. Secure the things that matter the most first. Here's the honest part. The risk matrix is ultimately limited because once you break it down into you have an asset with a certain risk, you don't know what kind of risk, but it is a very good starting point. If you have nothing, start with the matrix first. But it has a real limit, and you feel it the moment you take it seriously. It squeezes everything into two numbers, and two very different assets can land on the exact same red dot for completely different reasons. Your customer database is high risk because it's confidential data that would leak. Your production line is high risk because it can't be down for even an hour. Same dot, but the reason, and therefore the fix, is completely different. The matrix hides the why. It tells you a thing is risky, but not what kind of risky. And what kind is exactly what decides which controls you actually need. Another limitation of the matrix is that it pushes you back towards hackers. When you only score likelihood and impact, you can't score which impact would that be. A flood, a damage, loss of supplier. So it's a first good step. It's important to reach The next step. So the matrix is where you start, but it's not where you stop. So we built the alternative, free and open at NIS2.eu. Instead of just the 2 points, likelihood and impact, we ask a series of questions for each asset, and then your risk is mapped out instead of 1 point on a matrix. It's actually a map. You answer a short set of plain questions, and then it draws a shape. This is our risk assessment tool. You go through the questions one at a time, in plain language, and at the end of it, it plots every answer on its own axis. The axes aren't random. 3 of them are the ones from the law and the German BSI care about: confidentiality, integrity, and availability. Could it leak? Could it be tampered with? Could it go down? And in Germany, paragraph 30 of the BSIG has a 4th, authenticity. Could someone impersonate it? On top of that, the tool asks the real-world questions the flat matrix leaves out. Is this thing exposed to the internet? Does the vendor still ship security patches? Has it been hit before? And how hard is it to replace if you lost it? Each of these becomes a spoke on the map. Now look at what that gives you that the square can't. Those same 2 assets that sat on one red dot draw 2 completely different shapes. The customer database spikes hard on confidentiality. The production line spikes on availability. And on vendor support, because it's the old connected machine nobody patches anymore. You can see at a glance not just that they're risky, but where the risk lives. And that points straight to the fix. And the tool doesn't just draw the picture. It reads it back to you and puts your asset into one of these 3 protection approaches that BSI defines. Basis, the broad, shallow starting layer. Standard, full baseline protection. The certifiable middle. Or current, deep focused, reserved for your crown jewels. Then you save it, dated, with the management signed off, and rerun it when something changes. A supplier announces end of life, you have an incident, or once a year on a set date. That current dated record is your risk register, and it is the first thing an auditor asks for. The single most common early NIS2 finding isn't the wrong control. It's a risk assessment that was done once and never touched again. Keeping it current is itself the evidence. So that's risk management. The 3 questions, the law requires you to list all your assets and manage the risks of those assets, all hazards and proportionate. The classic matrix scores each one on likelihood and impact, and that is a perfect place to start. And we're proposing our tool. And when you want to see not just how risky it is, but what type of risky, then you can at our website with our risk assessment tool. Check it out today at NIS2.eu, where we have free and open ISMS platform, free CEO NIS2 training, and lots of documentation. Thanks for watching. Until next time, bye for now.